everyone. Welcome. Are you enjoying the course? That's right. The topic of today's lesson is about the performance of politicians. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the category of politicians, which can be divided into bad politicians, competent politicians, and clientelistic politicians. Let's get to lesson. And we're also going to talk about the categories of politicians that we have. We have the politician, bad politician, who is the inept one. We have the clientelistic politician. And we have the competent politician. All of them, folks, have their idiosyncrasies or quirks when they're in the spotlight, both in the city council and in the field, doing their field work. So let's take a look now at the classification, the category we have for politicians. The bad politician, the indifferent politician, the absent politician is the one who doesn't show up, doesn't present themselves, doesn't make an effort. He hides, folks. Notice why. He's the bad politician. And so he doesn't notice the needs of the population. He has no initiatives. He goes to the chamber just to be present, doesn't care about making a voting declaration, or helping his colleagues, or getting close to them. And he engages excessively in party proselytism, which are principles that the parties have and that lead nowhere. And this is done excessively. Those who engage in party proselytism are what we call politicalants. This comes from the Aurelio Dictionary. And we also have the initiative, politicians without any impact. They are the ones who act like they own the world. They don't get any votes. They never get elected. But they inflate their egos. They have a very big ego. And they're called politiquettes. Now let's look at the clientelistic politician. The clientelistic politician spends a lot of time attending to one person. So look, he's attending to one person to get a vote. He spends a lot of time. Instead of working for the benefit of the community, he focuses on one person. So he gives preferential treatment for school spots to that person, helps with obtaining documents from the city hall, makes donations of uniforms. There it's just one person, but it could be a soccer team. But in any case, it's a small percentage that he operates in, folks. He offers favors in exchange for votes, or buys votes, which is a crime. So they can get free medical consultations or exams, as well as appointments in public units. Many times we have a doctor as a politician, and he offers consultations for free. So clientelism happens at all levels, whether it's with a bad politician or a competent one. Now let's look at the competent politician. The competent politician is the one who is always present. He doesn't hide. He goes there, he meets people in his office. He has a strong team of advisors. Has a mix of field advisors. He has legal advisors that help him a lot. And he also has press advisors nearby. And he works to meet the demands presented by the population. He registers the people, notes all the demands, priorities, and problems in the neighborhood, right? He drafts proposals, projects, recommendations, and requests. So in this case, he presents bills, recommendations, requests, motions, and amendments. And he looks after the peace and well-being of the population, which is the role of the councillor. The councillor looks after the peace and well-being of the population. He has a strong presence in the chamber and in the plenary. He has the respect of his colleagues. And with that, he builds up his positive points that follows the regional goals and projects. In this case, the competent politician also practices a bit of disguised clientelism. But it's to a small extent, folks. There's no one who can escape the practice of clientelism in politics. Let's now take a look at the performance quadrant of elected politicians. So here we have a chart that illustrates, for example, the performance in the chamber and political indifference. It's a quadrant that evaluates the regular performance quadrant, which is the regular politician. Some classifications in this way. The excess of daily proselytism. Does he strictly follow the daily doctrine? That's good, folks. Does he always show up at the sessions? Good. Low quality in the proposals. Often it's difficult. How do you prepare a bill? How do you prepare a request, a recommendation? So, sometimes he fails to do that and causes low quality in his proposals. He alternates between creating and approving laws and decrees. Little planning, coordination, and management. You can see that in this field, we have a politician who acts in a regular way. Let's talk about the basics. This politician might seek re-election and get elected, but he will face significant difficulties. Now let's look at the quadrant of performance criteria in the chamber and clientelistic practices. Here, clientelistic practices happen even for good performance, but it's to a lesser extent. The councilman is more engaged in public affairs. He uses less clientelism, but he still uses it, right, folks? He mobilizes his army of advisors in some way. He's always keeping an eye on what's happening in the neighborhoods and has communication through work and apps with his advisors in the field. And you have to be very careful about this, folks, so he doesn't lose popularity, especially where he already has strongholds. And he knows that this work in the field with his advisors reflects back in the chamber. He cares about his image and his government marketing. He knows how to take advantage of the off-season campaign period for his re-election. What does it mean? The elected politician, as soon as he's elected, he already starts working for the next administration 4 years later. So he's already working on maintaining his achievements, what he's already done, and the total number of voters he has. He tries to keep so he doesn't feel threatened by his opponents. So, doesn't neglect this aspect, folks. And he's always concerned about his image and his government marketing. He knows how to take advantage of the period close to achievements between harvests, which is the work done 2 or 3 years before the election, right? He establishes good communication channels with society. All right, folks, the quadrant of the excluded. That politician who got elected almost by magic, or the population just went along with him. He wasn't prepared, but somehow he did some work, and it was a misleading situation for the voter. The voter voted, but not wisely. The politician is there. The chances of getting re-elected are none, and it's that politician with just one term. So let's see. Has the lowest performance rating. His activity in the chamber is practically zero. He naturally excludes himself, folks. He has no commitment to the voter. In fact, doesn't have any well-done work with his advisors. Even his own advisors doubt his ability to carry out the proposals. Speaking of that, he has no leadership or management skills. And his colleagues also think he's not doing a good job. Just imagine the voter. Then, if his own colleagues think he's not doing a good job, the voter doesn't even know where this politician is. The chances of getting re-elected are almost zero, or none, folks. The ranking of politicians is an evaluation of how politicians are classified in a ranking, whether they are in first, second, third, fourth, or fifth place. So, you see, several criteria are evaluated for this. For example, and the ones who carry out this evaluation are organizations, many of which are non-governmental, that assess politicians. There was a time in the past when there was the Chambers X-ray, which evaluated politicians based on their proposals, presenting bills, recommendations, requests, and motions. And also, more recently, we have conscious voting, something that is being done to evaluate politicians and their behavior, how their projects are going, and everything else. But you see, politicians feel a certain discomfort about being evaluated. They don't like being evaluated, folks. They prefer that. Voters evaluate them by casting their votes at the polls. So these evaluation mechanisms exist, but they could be replaced. As we have heard from several experts in the area of human resources, they say that the evaluation process in public administration is difficult. So the best thing in public administration is to know the indicators of good political performance. We cover that in our course. So, what does that mean? By evaluating these indicators, you have the ability to cast your vote with quality, to better observe the indicators that assess attendance in sessions, whether these councillors or politicians have legal proceedings against them and their legislative quality in terms of the proposals they present, right. Reduction of public spending, fighting corruption, efficiency of public service. Look at all the beautiful things we're talking about, huh? Meritocracy in public service, freedom of expression and information, creation and approval of proposals. Whether or not they have a college degree, that matters more, folks, for those who are more engaged in public services. That's the point, the most important one. Party affiliation, party switching, political opportunism. Look, what we talked about today, and what's still important, is this aspect of evaluation. What prevails today, folks, is self-evaluation. Based on good indicators, the politician themselves evaluates whether they are managing to meet the needs of the citizens. And we will help you with that in our course, folks. We'll wrap up this class here. And the topic of the next class is about leadership development. You're going to see role of coaching. Attention everyone, don't miss this.